March 2nd, 2026. We appreciate everyone who has taken the time to come here tonight to participate in the work of our district. Your presence reflects the community commitment to our students, our schools, and the decisions that guide our future. We ask that all who are joining us help maintain a respectful and orderly environment so that we can conduct the people's business effectively and in accordance with the Michigan Open Meetings Act. I call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m.
Julie Lohila.
Here.
Tim Tarja.
Here.
Deborah Buhner.
Here.
Matt Malarchuk.
Here.
Luke Kuski.
Here.
Travis Neville. Richard Pilon.
Here.
Heather Lake.
Here. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first thing on our agenda is approval of board members attending a conference. It's called Capturing His Heart. Is a relation-driven approach designed to make schools environments where students feel valued, safe, and motivated. I need a motion to approve Deborah Buhner to attend the Capturing Kids Hearts Conference on March 17th through 18th in Detroit.
Make a motion to approve Deb to the conference.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, second by Luke.
Luke Kuski. Richard Pilon.
Yes.
Tim Tarja.
Yes.
Deborah Buhner. Oh, I'm sorry, you have to abstain. Thank you. Matt Malarchuk.
Yes.
And Julie Lohila.
Yes. Next thing on our agenda is public comment. Before we begin public comment this evening, I want to take a moment to clarify the framework that governs both the authority of the board and the processes we follow. Under Michigan law, the local boards of education do not have the power to remove an elected or appointed trustee from office. State statutes provide only two lawful avenues of removal. A voter-initiated recall process, which requires petition, approval, and the gathering of signatures, but does not apply to an appointed trustee. A removal process conducted by the governor, which may occur only after a formal complaint, investigation, and a due process hearing. Because of these statutory limits, the board cannot remove one of its own members, even in situations involving disagreement, misconduct, or violation of board policy or the code of ethics. Our responsibility is to document concerns, take corrective action where permitted, and maintain transparency with the community. As we move to public comment, each speaker will have up to 5 minutes. This time limit ensures fairness and allows everyone who wishes to speak an opportunity to be heard. We ask that the comments be directed to the board, remain respectful, and focus on matters within the board's responsibilities. Under the Michigan Open Meetings Act, the public has the right to attend and observe our meetings. The Act also requires that the board maintain order so the meeting can proceed. Disorderly conduct, such as shouting, interrupting speakers, refusing to yield the floor, or otherwise preventing the board from conducting its business, may result in a call to order, a warning, or removal from the meeting. These steps are taken solely to preserve the public's ability to follow the meeting and are never based on the viewpoint being expressed. The board will not respond to comments at this time, but please know that we take your input seriously, and concerns will be reviewed. Someone will follow up with you if a response or additional information is needed. Our meeting minutes and video of the meeting will be our follow-up on public comment if action is taken during this meeting. I also want to emphasize that input is valued. Public comment is a vital part of democratic governance. While the board does not respond during this portion of the meeting, we listen carefully, and your perspectives help inform our work and strengthen the partnership between the district and the community we serve. Thank you for your engagement and your commitment to our schools. With those guidelines in mind, you may come forward one at a time when you are ready. You may approach the podium and state your name and address.
My name is Eric Hall, 6869 Chippewa Trail. I've stood before this board several times and usually begin by acknowledging that you have a difficult decision to make. Today, however, I believe that you have a very easy one. Together with the staff of this district, you created a strategic plan built upon 4 guiding beliefs. We believe in a safe, inclusive, and collaborative environment that maximizes growth. We believe character development is an integral part of the lifelong success. We believe in fostering self-pride in all achievements. We believe in making all students life-ready through quality education. If these beliefs truly guide this board, then the decision before you becomes straightforward. As a board member, you must ask yourselves, is this individual contributing to the character development of all students? Is this individual fostering self-pride and achievements? Is this individual helping create a safe, inclusive, and collaborative environment that maximizes growth? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then the choices are clear. Let's consider the first belief, inclusive. Does inclusive include minority students? Does it include gay students, transgender students? If it does, then statements such as, quote, racist jokes are the funniest jokes, end quote, or sharing derogatory and demeaning content about others stand in direct conflict with the values this board claims to uphold. And this concern is not exaggerated. Under investigation by this very board, this board member publicly liked a post that stated, quote, even if you do something retarded, just remember that nobody can out-stupid a black woman. Regardless of intent, language like this is incompatible with the responsibility of representing all students and families in this district. It's also important to recognize that this is not unprecedented. Just last week at Wyandotte Public Schools, a single racist Facebook post, led to the resignation of a school board member who shared a meme, widely condemned by the community. During a meeting much like this one, Superintendent James Anderson addressed his board. He acknowledged that he reports to them, but he also made it clear that if any of the district's 700 employees had done what that board member had done, including himself, he would expect that person to resign or for termination proceedings to begin. He said plainly, quote, it's not acceptable, it's not part of our school system, and I hope the right thing happens here, end quote. That is leadership. That is consistency. Standards cannot apply to teachers and staff, but stop at the board table. And yet here, we have heard no such clarity from the superintendent, no public condemnation, no reassurance to students or staff, only silence. And silence speaks volumes. The board member himself has said, quote, all words have meaning. That's why I do not self-censor, end quote. If all words have meaning, then we must also acknowledge that meaning is carried by the words and content he chooses to elevate. Words shape culture, words signal value, words either build dignity or erode it. I understand that some may raise concerns about the right to free speech. This was given reference publicly when it was described by Mr. Berg as a, quote, slippery slope, unquote. But it's important to remember this quote from the board member in question. Quote, the First Amendment protects you from the government, not from your employer or from me. Accountability is not censorship. Responsibility is not oppression. On the subject of rights and free speech, this same board member once stated, quote, complaining about your rights, that's childish, stop it, end quote. I'd like to close with one quote from a podcast I recently listened to. I want to know if you're doing it right. You probably are. If you're asking the question, am I doing it right, then you care what the right thing is. By voting yes to a resolution, you ask yourself honestly, do you believe you are doing what is right? For context, that quote came from The Ideal Man, and the podcaster in question was this very board member. Thank you.
is Lang Fleischman, and I am at 1267 Sand Road here in Sheboygan. As I stand here before everybody today, it is no surprise that I resemble one of the remarks that was given. And today, I wanted to remind everybody that although freedom of speech is right, it is also a responsibility. And when we are in the public eye, it is important to remember that we are no longer I, we are we, and we have to speak as one. So as a member of the writing community since 2007, and as a member of the Board of Education in the state of South Carolina, I was under the impression that as one, we work together to make sure that our children and our grandchildren all receive an education that is free from certain comments and certain idealisms that should not be appropriated within the community. So, under that understanding, I would like to know when we are going to have the next elections, and I would like to propose myself to be considered to be part of the next board. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jody Ginna. I am a longtime resident of Sheboygan. My address is 11517 Highland Road. I am a longtime resident of the Sheboygan community. I'm the mother of 3 boys who graduated from Sheboygan schools in the years 2011, 14, and 25. I come to the board with some thoughts I would like to share before you make a very important decision tonight. My husband and I are both very involved in our community, individually and also as a couple. Teaching the principle of service to others and to our children is paramount to both of us. I would like to share a brief anecdote that will become more relevant and pertinent as I continue speaking. There was a time not long ago when I was feeling overwhelmed and tired, and I asked my husband, "Why do we keep doing this?" His response was simple and profound. He said, "Because someone did it for me." I hesitated to speak tonight for many reasons. I'm embarrassed to admit one of those reasons was to avoid backlash and possible trickle effect of speaking up. I had a small fear of being bullied. The fact that I can choose to sit on the sidelines in and of itself shows my privilege. And that realization of that privilege compelled me to speak tonight. I'm not here before you to bash the school board, nor am I speaking tonight to criticize our schools, nor am I here to sling insults at the school board member in question. I'm not here to question anyone's personal belief systems, nor am I here to promote any kind of political agenda. I'm not speaking up because I'm drawn to the outrage and uproar, although the uproar certainly did get my attention. I'm here because my community matters deeply to me. And the way we interact with one another matters. And publicly insulting others is not becoming to someone representing our schools and our students. It is my understanding, based on information I have gathered, that Mr. Neville is openly teaching his beliefs, opinions, values, and thoughts to impressionable young people. It is also my understanding that Mr. Neville is using his status as a school board member to influence the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors of impressionable youth. I'm speaking up because some principles really matter to me. And 2 principles that matter most to me are integrity and legacy. It is my belief that leaving a positive imprint on the community where we live and serve others is essential to our success as a community. Mr. Neville's approach is not conducive to creating an environment to draw families to return to our community or to stay here. To me, this is not about any kind of personal vendetta or attempt to boost a political stance or agenda. This is about the integrity of the community and future of our school and citizens. I come to you as an educated woman and successful business owner. As a mom of 3 boys who I can confidently say have been raised to be good men. In reference to a statement made by Mr. Neville regarding marriageable and high-quality men and women, I come to you as a, quote, high-value woman, who also happens to be married to a, quote, high-value man. I would even go so far as to say that together, we make a, quote, high-value couple. However, whether or not I am educated, of value, tattooed, tan, fat, thin, left or right-leaning is absolutely irrelevant. What is very relevant, however, is what I expect from my school board. And that is a board of people who stand up for what is right. There is a quote from Della Reese that I will paraphrase that says, "From where I come from, I have no business being where I'm at." I come to the board and speak up because at a time in my life when I was a single mom, an unwed mom, a divorced mom, a stepmom, an unmarriageable woman, a nearly homeless mom, an addict, a jobless mother, a food stamp recipient, a recipient of public assistance. Thank you. Please keep in mind the legacy of our schools. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Amanda Tanner. I'm a retired teacher from Sheboygan Area Schools. I'm a university professor, and I'm a proud Nana of 3. I care deeply about our students, our families, and our staff. One of my grandchildren attends the Sheboygan Intermediate School. I appreciate the board's service, and I know the complexity of governance. I would just like to remind everybody that Board Policy 2302 requires trustees to place student welfare first and avoid conflicts of interest. Policy 2303 outlines investigation procedures. And when concerns arise about trustee conduct, the best practice is to respond with transparency, fairness, and student-centered decision-making. I respectfully ask the board to take the following actions. First, continue the independent investigation and publicly share the timeline and the process. Second, if violations are confirmed, formally refer the matter to the governor under MCL 3801107 for removal from office. Third, communicate regularly with families and provide annual ethics and social media training for trustees. Our community needs, our community deserves leadership that protects our students and reflects our values. These steps support trust, safety, and strong schools. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Myers, and I live on Heckenberg Road. I'm a parent, and I am a concerned citizen. I'm here today because the primary function of this board is not merely to run the schools, but to ensure that they are well run. Under Board Policy 2302, the Board Code of Ethics, each of you has a duty to represent the entire community and to maintain a focus on the well-being of all students. Students have a fundamental right to a safe, inclusive, and equitable learning environment free from discrimination, harassment, and bullying. When a member of this board uses their platform to share or validate racist jokes or hate speech, they're not just exercising free speech, they're violating the trust of this community and the spirit of our district's own anti-harassment policies. Freedom of speech is a right, but it does not grant freedom of accountability. As a leader in this district, your speech to communicate respectfully. If your primary focus is generating content for a personal platform at the expense of our children's sense of safety, then you have failed in your duty of care. I am calling on this board to hold its members to the standards outlined in our own bylaws. We must take our school board back from device rhetoric and return the focus to protecting our children. If you cannot or will not prioritize the well-being of every student, regardless of race, color, national origin, then you should resign. I am also here today because leadership requires more than just an elected seat. It requires a moral authority to protect every student in this district. When a member of this board's platform or validates racist rhetoric, they aren't just expressing an opinion. They are creating a liability. Under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, this district is required to provide an environment free from discrimination. By posting content that marginalizes the very students you are sworn to serve, you are undermining the district's legal standing and safety of our children. If your platform is more important than your people's, you have the duty to resign. Our children deserve leaders who believe their safety is more important than social media posts. Thank you.
My name is Abby Brooks. My address is 3580 Little Cannon Road. My husband and I are lifelong residents of Sheboygan. We are both business owners and we have 2 small children. I want to begin by thanking the members of the board present tonight for going above and beyond being a regular citizen and answering the call of civic duty. You voluntarily stepped up to represent your community and should be recognized and commended for that. That being said, I am beyond disappointed that I had to take time out of my packed schedule, like all of the rest of the people in this room, to come and ask you, no, insist that you guys carry out the duties of your position. The board member in question tonight should have never been appointed to the board in the first place, and he certainly should not remain in his position now. After being fired from 2 districts, one of these times for making hateful remarks against a literal child, I am unsure what makes him qualified or even eligible to serve on this board. From my understanding, complaints were being received a year ago, and we are just now beginning the process to address it. Nothing about this situation is acceptable. Free speech is one thing. It is illegal to make any of the remarks this person has made. It is not, however, his right to hold this position. That is a privilege with ethics and standards. No one that believes a girl's eligibility for marriage begins at 15 years old should be allowed to set foot on school grounds, let alone serve on this board. The hateful rhetoric against women, other ethnicities, and most notably children should make this an easy decision. Behavior and beliefs such as this should not be tolerated. Your community has shown you that we do not want this here. Voting for anything other than in support of his resignation is complicity. It is a signal to this community that not only do you support his views, you also share them. We will make note of that. Ask yourself if this is how you want to be remembered. Standing up for children or standing with everything they should be protected from. I urge you to do what is in your power to strip this person of their role within the board and as a coach in the school district. Look around you. Sheboygan does not want this. Thank you.
I'm here in support of the resignation of the board member who is currently under investigation. I'm not a politician, I'm a dad. I have 2 daughters. They both play sports, and I'm proud of the young men they are becoming. That's why I'm angry. Because the board member in question has said things like, I coached girls for a season, and it was a disaster. You can't motivate them. They just fall apart. They crumble. They get emotional. It's a very different mindset. Those aren't just words. Those are statements about girls like my daughters. He has also said, ladies, for the last time, neither your career, money, nor your education make you more attractive. to any man worth a shit. Stay fit, keep your hair long, quit with the tattoos, and dump the feminism. And men were universally given the right to vote because it was men who went to fight in wars. Women can now vote, but do not fight in wars. And even, there are not many marriageable women anymore. About 0.5% of U.S. women between the ages of 15 and 49 meet all 6 criteria: fertile, non-obese, unmarried, not vaccinated for COVID, not on SSRIs, and not on hormonal birth control. Those are his words. So I have a simple question. Is this the kind of person we want helping shape policy for our daughters? Is this the voice we want representing families in the district? Because I can tell you this, my daughters, they are strong. They are coachable. They are resilient, and they are very intelligent. They're more than someone's definition of marriageable. The district can do better than this. If we don't, then we're sending a message to every girl in our school about what this community believes they are worth. As a dad, I'll accept that.
I'm the mother of 3 kids who've either graduated from or are currently attending Sheboygan High School. I could stand up here and reiterate many of the sexist, racist comments made by the board member in question. But I sent a letter to the board last week outlining many of them, and a lot of the other community members have done a good job lending their voice to this same issue. Also, by now, the board has had the weekend to do your research. I hope you spent time on his website, listened to his podcasts, looked at his Instagram and his Substack, and are clear about what a low opinion he has for women, Native Americans, Black African Americans, LGBT community, and honestly, it seems like just anyone who isn't out there chopping wood and lifting weights. Instead, I would like to talk about where we go from here. A mistake was made in appointing this man to our board. Even if you hadn't bothered to find any of his social media outlets, which are all under his name, his arrest for drug possession while working as a teacher, and his firing from his last coaching position at Grand Blanc for talking about a student on his podcast, calling them a mother effer and a lazy full of shit, obviously should have been a huge red flag. But here we are, so what can we do about it? I fear we are about to get a painful lesson in the impotence that constituents have in holding those in power accountable. And if at the end of this process we hear a series of weak, well, we really don't like what he says, but if that happens, then I suggest you go on our website and remove all that verbiage on the school's mission and vision that claims to support all of our diverse student body. Because if there is nothing we can do about this man's hateful rhetoric, then those words are simply window dressing. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the removal process for a member who is appointed rather than elected, but I have a few suggestions for what I assume is possible within the power of this board. Before I make my suggestions, I want to make a quick point. When our children are young, they see the world as black and white. They don't know yet that sometimes there is gray, there is nuance. Let's be clear though, this is not one of those times. In this case, your actions moving forward show us that you either agree with and condone the board members' ideas and messages, or you don't. It is really that simple. You have to vote, you have to pick a side. If you choose to stand with those of us who believe in equality and showing respect to all of our students, here are some suggestions. Obviously, our first hope is that he can be removed. It sounds like that may not be possible. I would love for him to resign. He's so arrogant, I doubt that will also happen. If that is not legally possible, then I suggest the board censure him for his use of language that goes directly against the messages described on on our school's mission statement and strategic plan. I suggest you vote to remove him from any committees, tasks, roles, liaison, roles he currently holds, especially his role working with our athletic community. Make him nothing more than a seat warmer once a month on a Monday night. Remove him from any volunteer positions he currently holds on behalf of the school community. Specifically, and in my opinion, most importantly, is that he not be allowed to interact with our kids, especially in a coaching or mentoring role. If he comes to you and says, "Hey, can I help?" you say, "No thanks, we're good." And to the people in this audience, let's not lose track of this point. Our current AD, Mr. Jason Friday, is retiring his position this year. I don't know who will be the new AD, but let's make sure this man is not allowed to coach, even on a volunteer basis, come this fall. That'll be on us. One final note. As a member of the community, I accept some responsibility for this mess. I tend to naively assume that we are all good people, and it's disappointing to discover that this is not in fact true. I was not paying attention. So, consider me educated, consider me motivated to do a better job paying attention to the people who are in positions of power here locally, and to try to seek ways to prevent problems like this from happening again. Thank you for your time.
I wrote my address down on that paper for your reference. I appreciate all the people that are here this evening. This is the dream for the school district, that we would have this many people that care enough to show up. And I understand that we are here this evening due to admittedly controversial and sometimes insensitive social media posts, social media activity from a board trustee that we have. I don't want to get into that. I honestly think that we could sit here for 3 days and dig through all of that and really not get anywhere. There's a lot to go through. I would, however, like to say that I do know Travis as a real person, not a name, just a name on a screen, and as a woman, woman who is a single mom, who has tattoos, maybe doesn't have the longest hair. I have never been made to feel less than or disrespected by him. As a parent, I've never questioned as to whether he was making safe decisions on the board. Quite the contrary, I have watched this board in the last 2.5 years make more progress than we did in a while, and that's bold of me considering how a while ago. I have an athlete in high school who is ecstatic to show up and play in these facilities that you've given her. An athlete who has recently told me that she wants to be an oral surgeon. And I have an early middle college meeting next Monday because this district, this board, voted to help me give that to her. And I watched this preschool program roll out this year, which was just a beautiful gift for our kids, right? And I want to thank you, Spencer, directly for the work and the personal accountability that you put into that. But I would also like to acknowledge that you would not have been able to do those things if you hadn't had a board that was able to support you and give you the resources that you need. So from a parent standpoint, I look at it as if there had been different people sitting in these seats for the last 2 years, my kids might not have some of the opportunities that they do. Those votes might have gone a different way, and that means something to me as a mom. Yes, I have read his books. Yes, I am familiar with his podcast. I think that he's a good man. I think that his social media might not reflect that, but I do believe him to be a good man. I do also, however, understand that this is a very unique and uncomfortable situation for the 6 of you to be in, right? I have no doubt that you're going to make a decision here this evening that you feel is in the best interest of the district and the students that you serve. While you're weighing that decision, please keep in mind and remember that there are going to still be members of this community that support you, regardless of what decision you make here. This is not going to be an easy one. And thank you
My name is Mary Grant, and my address is also on the form. As news continues to spread of yet another debacle involving Sheboygan area schools, I keep hearing the same question asked. How did this guy get on the board in the first place? The truth is, we did not elect him. Our community did not choose him. At least 3 people, well not 4 people in this room, know exactly how this happened. Because 3 are still serving on this board today. In fact, on September 23rd, 2024, Matt, it was you that made the motion, and Tim, you supported it. Julie and Amber voted yes. There were 6 candidates that applied for this position from our community. There was 3 positions open, so 3 people were passed up for Travis Neville. You cannot make this community believe there wasn't better people. You had another opportunity to correct this mistake in February of 2025 when I followed your board policies and I formally reported Mr. Neville's disturbing social media activity to board president Julie Lohila. Instead, I received a response 1 year later telling me, well, I talked to legal and there was nothing we could do. I disagree. There was something you could have done, and there's something you must do today. Your own policy 2302, your code of ethics, it clearly states a board member will not use any board position for actual or perceived personal or political gain. You have actual proof that Travis continues to leverage his board position and volunteer coaching position in his book advertisements on social media. This community has made it clear to you they perceive this as well. The same policy states each board member will be mindful of a board member's fiduciary obligations to this district, including loyalty and care, placing the district's interests above a board member's personal interests. You have hundreds of exhibits and examples that we have all sent to you that show Mr. Neville is in violation of this. Item A6 of your code of ethics states a board member will encourage constructive dialogue among the board, students, staff, parents, guardians, and the school community. In direct violation of the standard, Mr. Neville has posted multiple veiled threats and demeaning comments on those who have spoke against him to this point, even mocking a parent who filed a formal complaint against him with the quote, "suck it." Duke Ellington once said, "A problem is a chance for you to do your best." Tonight, this community needs all of you to do your best. I urge you to follow your own policies, the laws of our state, and publicly censure Travis Neville, remove him from all committee assignments, and request his resignation forthwith. Make it not possible for him to ever volunteer with any of our students in any way. If he refuses to resign, which I'm sure he will, you must contact our governor's office immediately and have him removed in accordance with the board's own policy and pursuant to the Michigan Constitution. Your individual vote tonight will send a clear message to your constituents, to the taxpayers, your coworkers, your clients, your community, our athletic teams, our teachers, and most importantly, the students in our schools. Any vote to allow Travis Neville to remain on this board or in any coaching position is not neutral. It is a public declaration of support for his hateful, racist, bigoted rhetoric. This community is watching. Our students are watching. You have 2,000 views on your board meeting. When has that ever happened? Everybody is watching. Do your best. Follow your policy. Restore our faith.
Hello, my name is David Martin. I live in the city of Sheboygan, lifelong resident. I raised 5 children here, 4 daughters, very proud of. I have grandchildren, daughters and sons. I care about both genders equally. But moving on, whatever tonight may bring, think of this as perhaps a cautionary tale. We, the people, vote you folks in, generally speaking, unless if you appoint somebody. You need to represent the people, the majority of the people. That's how democracy works. So, moving on that note, I think you should do more research if you do appoint somebody. A simple Google search could have easily found Mr. Neville and then all his history. And if you think that's good history, shame on you for electing him or at least nominating him. And I believe the superintendent also probably had a chance to look into it. Not a good job, sir. And also, I think moving forward, the community of Sheboygan would definitely like an answer tonight in one way, shape, or form of what you want to do, whether you can or not. And that's all I have.
My name is Lisa Craig-Grisson. I live at 410. I've lived in Sheboygan since 1994. I'm not originally from here. And I have 3 kids. I graduated from Sheboygan High School recently as a newly empty nester. So I have been to school board meetings many times, but not when any of you were serving. And I'm sorry that I haven't been back since you started. I was really involved with my kids at, especially when they were in high school. I was a driver for Quiz Bowl, and I was part of the academic boosters. I was president for a while. But my favorite job was that I was the Speak Up coordinator, so I got to take the kids team anywhere on the street. And so I didn't come to public schools. I didn't go to public schools when I was growing up. And so when I moved to Sheboygan and my kids started to be school age, I just didn't know what public schools were and what they were like. And I will confess that my kids didn't go to the public schools at first. But then, of course, eventually they did. And my first interaction with what public schools are about were related to snow days. So I grew up in Minnesota. We didn't have snow days, and I didn't really understand. And so I would get so frustrated when there were snow days. And one winter, there were so many snow days, it was making me crazy. And I would just get so mad, and I called the bus garage, and I'm like, what is going on? The skies are blue, there's nothing on the road, why in the world is there a snow day? And the bus garage, of course, they just said, lady, Town Line Road is impassable, you can't get a bus there. And I got off the phone, and I'm like, okay, so like one road of families can't get to school, and my kids are here and not. And it made me mad. And so I complained a lot, as many people in this room were witness to. But then people started to talk to me about it, and they said, hey, you know what though? Some kids, their parents can't drive them to school, or sometimes there's a cold day and it's really bad, and they're like, yeah, the kids have to stand outside and wait for buses. And I'm like, well, can't we make little boxes, those little huts for them? And people were like, no, that's not what this is about. And it took me a few years, but I figured it out, right? It's about, we don't leave kids, right? We don't move on. We don't say, oh, you can't get to school, so we're going to have school anyway without you, we're going to leave, right? Oh my gosh, once I realized that, I'm a super fan, right? Like, what a beautiful thing. And I could stand here all day to tell you how I saw that manifested in my experience at Sheboygan, especially Sheboygan High School, which is where we were most of the time. I got to sit on the stage for the academic awards, and my favorite thing was that I didn't see the kids. I saw the teachers' faces giving those kids those awards. I got to go to Speak Club with these high school kids who are driving their parents crazy, right? And they're the nicest, sweetest, wonderful kids. And I saw some in Walmart last week, and they behind me. And, it was such a great experience to be part of Sheboygan Area High School. I saw so much inclusion and so much love and so much respect and so much effort on the part of the staff and the teachers and the parents and all of everybody that was involved. So, when I heard about what was happening, it just breaks my heart, right? It just breaks my heart. Because there's so many people
right? Nonprofit boards. It's not the same as a school board because there's a little bit more freedom, but I know boards, right? And I know your job, and it's really hard. And I don't envy you, right, for what is going on right now. But ultimately, the role of the board is to be the steward of that community that you're the leadership for, right? So I just wanted to come and just talk about that little community for you, just to remind you what's at stake here, right? It's not about, I mean, it is about the rules, it is about conduct and all those things, but, you know, it's our kids. It's our kids that are at stake. And it's of the people who are supporting those kids that are at stake. And this school, this place is amazing. And I just don't want anything to choose. So thank you for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my name is Kate Lindsay. Again, I'm a community leader. I live at 518 Tyler. Turned in a complaint against Neville in May 2025, and it disappeared. And so I resubmitted that complaint last week, and I'm submitting this as an addendum to that complaint. Some community members have tried to come to Neville's defense, citing First Amendment protections for the freedom of speech. I submit that no one here has asked Neville's speech to be limited. We have said that he cannot post, we have not said that he cannot post a podcast, just for the community's sake. The First Amendment doesn't protect you from the standards that your job or your position on the board or coaching staff or volunteer expects you to adhere to. You must still adhere to those standards. So everybody's kind of talked about that a little bit. Just wanted to remind the board that the United States Supreme Court ruled unanimously in the Houston Community College System versus Wilson that a public entity's board, such as a school board, can censure a member for their speech without violating the First Amendment. So don't let that get in your way. As I stated in my original complaint, this board member violated the Sheboygan Area Schools Board Code of Ethics for school board members in several different areas. We know that he is unfit to serve the interests of female students and anybody in a beautiful diversity of humanity. So I understand that some of you may feel the same way that he does about the world. It's possible you may be a misogynist. You may also be a racist. You may think that public schools should be parochial schools, or you're on the wrong board if you feel that way. You may think that racist jokes are the best jokes. You might want women quiet and in the kitchen. But not a single one of you is dumb enough to post those beliefs all over social media under your real name and discuss your role as a coach and a school board member at the same time. So, do you really want to support someone who is foolish enough to do that? Because not a single one of you is dumb enough to do that. You all have the good sense to keep those secret beliefs secret enough for just you and your family and friends, maybe. But whether or not you share his beliefs does not matter. You are held here to a higher standard, and you must hold him accountable. You must censure him. You must remove him from, just as we asked, you must remove him from any committee assignments. Again, he's a seat warmer from now on. No contact with students, no contact with coaching. He shouldn't be handing out his book to anybody. If they want his book, they can order it from his website. So please ask yourself, do you really want to vote for someone who is so stupid to make you all look bad from this point forward? So the way that you voted tonight will haunt you. It will follow you. Everyone in the community is watching and will know from this point forward whether or not you support Travis Neville's beliefs in the way that he chooses to blare them across the universe and embarrass you and maybe jeopardize future job prospects
had 3 graduates, and if you want to judge success by degrees, doctor, lawyer, medical technician, nephews, doctors, lawyers, many successful people. Perception is reality. Board. Madam President, I don't know if it was an intentional thing or just missed, but MCL 380-1107 also has in there, and you've heard it multiple times tonight, the right for censorship. And in the absence of anything you do tonight, it just takes a simple majority vote by the board to officially censure this individual, and then you follow up with a written program as why he's being censured. And it makes him that warm button to see until the public either decides they want to recall vote, which then involves all board members, or we seek assistance from the government. This board, and I've worked with many boards, has kind of drifted over the years and maybe got ourselves into a little bit of this situation. Our own school board policy, and I stand corrected because I haven't looked at it because I wanted to stay on the outside looking in. But with my 5 grandchildren, 7 total, 4 of them females, I take great offense to what is being posted by a board member. Board policy simply states that unless we cannot find anybody else, no administrator or board member shall be a coach in this district. I find it hard to believe that we cannot find coaches that are not administrators or board members. The board, you should know this, you only have one person you're responsible for. That is the superintendent. Your interactions with staff members as a board member should not exist. You don't have that right, nor that authority. If you have a problem, you go to your superintendent or your board president and make that something. But yet we have board members in gyms, we have board members with keys, we have things that are happening in the district that should not be happening. And it got out of control. And it would have protected you, and I think that's why those board policies were put in place, was to protect this group. And believe me, I know how hard you work. I know the time you put in. It's not one meeting a month. You walk out of here with a huge portfolio of information that you have to follow up upon. That seat of the superintendent is to bring it all together. That's not an easy job. Most difficult and most hated job I ever had. But I loved it. So I do have a feeling for where you are at tonight. But I do know you can make a difference with a majority vote to agree to censure this. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but I've studied and I've looked and I've been involved with it. MCL 38-1107, under what Madam President stated, we cannot do, or the only way we can get rid of a board member, allows you for censorship to put a warm button to see. Thank you.
At this point,
the town I am proud to call home. Sheboygan is not perfect, but it is good, it is decent. It is made up of hardworking people who care about one another and who care deeply about our children. Let me be absolutely clear about something. This is not about stifling free speech. This is not about silencing political opinions. In fact, to quote he who must not be named himself, the First Amendment protects you from the government, not from your employer, and not from me. He is correct. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. The First Amendment protects citizens from government censorship. Free speech means you can speak. It does not mean you are free from accountability. It does not mean you are free from professional standards. It certainly does not mean you are entitled to a position of trust in the education of our children. It does not prevent elected bodies from censoring members for their speech, and it does not shield anyone from the moral judgment of their community. And in a time when divisiveness cuts like a knife across this country, we are witnessing something remarkable here: unity. Sheboygan is not some liberal haven. This room is not filled with woke leftists here to attack another mediocre white man. That narrative may be convenient, it may play well online, but it collapses the moment you look around this room. Republicans, Democrats, libertarians, independents, people who disagree on almost everything else are united on one simple, nonpartisan belief. The people entrusted with the education of our children, whether in the boardroom or on the field, should be good people. When I went to school here, there was a poster hanging in more than one classroom that read, "Stand up for what's right, even if you're standing alone." Tonight, I'm standing at the podium alone in this moment, but I'm not alone. Others spoke before me, others may speak after me. And while many here will not stand at this podium, they showed up, and their presence is a statement. Members of the community, I'm going to ask something of you. If you're here tonight to show this board that you stand with students, if you're here because you believe integrity matters, if you believe accountability is not censorship, if you believe your children deserve role models worthy of their trust, please stand up. Look around. This is not a partisan uprising. This is Sheboygan. Members of the board, you're not being pressured by outsiders. You're being called on by your neighbors, the people you see in the grocery store, and
actions that follows will occur in open session as required by law. I need a motion to move to closed session.
I'll make a motion to close session.
Motion made by Tim, support by Deb.
Luke Kukowski,
Yep.
Richard Keevan,
Yes.
Tim Hartog,
Yes.
Deborah Buhner,
Yes.
Matt Malarchuk,
Yes.
and Julie Lokila.
Yes. Before we go to closed session, there are some students that have requested to leave the meeting prior to the end, which they can get their little thingy signed. So if you would please come forward now, so we can sign those. You are able to students that are going to leave.
It's close session.
Yes, you may stay right here in this room.
Yeah.
Okay, we are in closed session. Next on the agenda is the consideration of a resolution displaying the actions and comments of trustee Travis Neville for violation of board policy, operating procedures, and code of ethics. I want to be clear to everyone present, this item is not about removing a trustee. Under Michigan law, an elected or appointed board member cannot be removed from the board. This action is about the board's responsibility to state when conduct by an individual trustee violates board policy or operating procedures, and to clarify that such conduct does not represent the board as a whole. At this time, I will read the resolution. Resolution displaying the actions and comments of trustee Travis Neville for violations of board policy and operating procedures, Sheboygan Area Schools Board of Education. Whereas members of the Sheboygan Area School Board of Education are expected to uphold the highest standards of professionalism, integrity, and respectful conduct as outlined in board policy and board operating procedures. Whereas trustee Neville has engaged in social media posts and made public comments that are inconsistent with these expectations, including conduct that does not align with the board's established norms for communication, decorum, and responsible representation of the district. Whereas such actions and comments have caused concern with the community, created disruption to the orderly functioning of the board, and reflected behavior contrary to the standards required of elected officials serving the Sheboygan area schools. Whereas the board recognizes that under the Michigan law, including MCL 168.310, a Board of Education does not possess the authority to remove an elected trustee from or appointed from office for misconduct. Whereas the board nevertheless has both the responsibility and the authority to formally state when the trustee's conduct violates board policy or operating procedures, and to make clear that such conduct does not represent the board as a whole. Whereas the board further finds it necessary to qualify the limits of individual trustee authority so that the Sheboygan area schools community and its members are placed on notice that unless specifically authorized by motion of this board, an individual member of the school board has no greater authority than that of an individual community member, and that such individuals' comments and conduct should not be construed as representing the position or the opinion of the school board. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Sheboygan Area Schools Board of Education hereby formally disclaims and disavows the actions and comments made by trustee Travis Neville, and expressly authorized by a duly adopted motion, and that any statements or conduct by an individual trustee outside of such authorizations shall not be interpreted as board positions. The board reaffirms its commitment to ethical governance, respectful communication, and adherence to board policy and operating procedures by all trustees. The resolution shall be entered in the official minutes of the Board of Education and made available to the public as part of the board's commitment to transparency and accountability. This resolution also places, that is the resolution, that this resolution also places the Sheboygan Area Schools community and its members on notice that unless specifically authorized by motion of the board, an individual member of the school board has no greater authority than any individual community member, and that such comments and conduct should not be construed as representing the position or the opinion of the school board. The resolution has been provided to all board members. At this time, I would like to make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
I'll support that motion.
Motion made by me, supported by Deb.
Luke Lukowski,
Yep.
Wait, we are not voting yet. At this time, I would like to give each trustee their entitlement to share their perspective on this disclaiming resolution. Trustees may agree or disagree, and that diversity of views is part of the responsible democratic practice. We will now invite any board members who wish to speak to offer remarks. I will make my statement first. Remember, this is my statement. The board does not have to agree with my beliefs. Before we move to a vote on this resolution, I want to speak to the seriousness of the issue before us, the responsibility we carry as a governing body. This resolution documents social media actions and comments by Trustee Travis Neville that violate board policy, our operating procedures, and the board's code of ethics. These are not subjective disagreements. They are findings grounded in standards that every trustee commits to uphold. Our policies exist to ensure that the board operates with integrity, respect, and accountability. When a trustee's conduct repeatedly conflicts with those expectations, it affects more than internal dynamics. It impacts our credibility to the public and our ability to govern effectively. It is also important to acknowledge the legal framework we operate within. Under Michigan law, a school board does not have the authority to remove an elected or appointed trustee. Our responsibility is to document violations, take corrective action where possible, and maintain transparency with the community. When conduct reaches a point where it disrupts the board's ability to function, the only mechanism for restoring stability is voluntary resignation. The purpose of the resolution is to formally and publicly acknowledge the breach of our policies and ethical standards. It creates a clear record of the board's expectation and the ways in which those expectations have not been met. It also signals to our community that we take our governance responsibilities seriously and that we will not ignore conduct that undermines the work of this district. If the resolution passes, it will be the board's official statement that these violations are significant and incompatible with the responsibilities of a trustee. In that context, I believe it is appropriate to state openly that the board's ability to move forward productively, respectfully, and with public trust requires Travis Neville to consider resignation. This is not about punishment. It is about restoring the conditions necessary for effective governance. Our students, staff, and community deserve board members who would like to make a statement.
I'll go next. After reviewing board policies, board code of ethics, and board operating procedures, I have come to the conclusion that Travis Neville breached the public's trust through his actions on social media and violated not only school board policy, but also our code of ethics. I base my opinion on facts provided through the process of an investigation, advice from both the district's lawyers and the school board's lawyer, as well as my own research and deliberate thought. I believe Travis's actions have placed the entire board in a bad light with this community and acknowledge the legal and ethical obligations required in response to the violations of board policy and ethical standards. I believe Sheboygan Area School Board should censor Travis Neville's action via the proposed resolution, and I further believe Travis should consider resignation, and this board's focus should return to the important work that we are entrusted to do.
Any other?
Sure. I'll go. First off, in all my dealings with Travis in the board meeting and in reports on the athletic committees, he has always pushed to enhance our athletic programs here in the schools, and I think some of the things that we've accomplished with the athletic program is a reflection of that. There are some people who think that athletics should not be in the schools. It says it's a waste of money, but data says when over 50% of our high school students in Sheboygan have played at least one sport this year, says that athletics is an important part of our educational program. Also, I would like a lot of talk about social media and stuff like that, but no one ever talked about, and I would like to add that at no point does a parent ever give up their right or their responsibility to monitor what the student or their kids are given to read or watch, even when attending the schools. If a teacher or a coach, or even a door-to-door evangelist, gives something for my kids to read, I'm going to read it first, and I'll decide whether it's appropriate for them. I'm not giving up my right as a parent. When my kids go to school and say, oh, here's a book, read it. I'm going to read it first. I decided. Also, I will do the same with social media when and if I finally decide to let them get on social media. Believe it or not, they are not on social media. And speaking of social media, to me, it's the worst invention in humankind. I only joined Facebook a little over a year ago. It's the only one I am on. It's really, I needed restaurant information. That was it. I've only listened to 4 podcasts, partially. 2 from Mike Rowe, 2 from Sean Ryan on the dangers of Roblox to kids. Other than that, I'm not a fan of social media, and I actually never even heard Travis had a podcast until this issue came up. But in regards to the original complaint filed on 2/18, board member made a post on 2/19 that crosses the line. To me, crosses the line for the expected conduct of a board member and is just not becoming or projecting what a board member should act like. On 2/20, February 20th, the complaint met with school personnel in regards to the complaint, and meeting notes from the superintendent were distributed to the Board of Education late on the 20th. This board member then posted on the next day, 2/21, that attacked and mocked the complainant with information that I, as a board member, did not know. And were not, because I was not in the meeting, and were not the meeting notes, he disclosed information that I did not know. I did not know about this until actually the meeting on the 23rd, in which afterwards we went into closed session, which then I was told about his post. Again, I'm not on social media, I don't care. So since the board meeting on the 23rd, I've been in this office way too often, read through a lot of the complaints, and to me, his post, both on the 19th and on the 21st, definitely crossed the line. And not only is it crossing the line for ethics and conduct, but it actually is attacking a customer. And that is totally disagreeable. In the corporate world that I come from, if I had an employee that attacked one of our customers at a social media post, he would have been terminated that day. That's just the benefit of being in the corporate world. The other problem I have is that information he conveyed in that post on the 21st is somewhat confidential. And in that respect, how are we going to continue to have an open conversation conversation with Travis, the board member, knowing that anything you say to him could be disclosed. So I think that will limit or restrict communication with him. I believe, as well as members of the public and made the comments here today, that board members should respect differing opinions, whether we're right, left, middle, doesn't matter, but you should respect it. And you should cultivate a culture of civility, a collaborative environment, a respect for disagreement, because a respect for the disagreement will increase the quality of the discussion. I also think everyone, whether it's the board or the public speaking, should speak professionally, avoid the personal attacks, remain calm, and use evidence-based arguments, which is also expected from the public as well. Because of this, I also feel that this board member should resign from his position on the board.
Anybody else?
I guess briefly, echo all those sentiments there that Rich just said. I would say I'm the newest one on the board. I was elected into this position last year. I had the privilege to serve on that board as a member of the community. 3 children. I have 2 children that are in Sheboygan school systems now. I never knew Travis had a podcast. Never even knew he had a book. He served as chair on our athletic committee. He fought for the girls that didn't get voted in for the volleyball all-state. He was the most upset of us all. He brought back cheerleading to the school systems. So I think some of the rhetoric or some of the complaints on Travis were just nasty and uncalled for. But his conduct sense and the conduct that Rich has outlined in his position as a board member certainly does cross the line of our ethics, policies. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But in my position here and in my dealings with Travis, he was respectful. He was a very respectful person. So I encourage you all to have that conversation with him. Have that, but try to. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more discussion, we need to vote. The board is going to resolution.
Luke Kukowski,
Yep.
Richard Pelon,
Yes.
Tim Tarja,
Yes.
Deborah Buhner,
Yes.
Matt Malarchik,
Yes.
and Julie Bokiva.
Yes. For the record, the board has formally disclaimed the actions and the comments identified in the resolution. The action clarifies that those statements do not represent the board and reaffirms that the board speaks collectively only to its official actions. At this point, I would like a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Matt. Seconded by.
That's that.
All in favor? Aye.